Caleb Williams is not Anakin Skywalker. Stop treating him like that. Tom Brady is the greatest overall football player of all time. This Baylor team has a ton of upside. But when I watch them, there are holes in this team that there weren't last year. You don't have to be a genius to figure out to give Keegan Murray the ball.
Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crane.
All right, everybody, thank you guys for joining us for another edition of the Jboy Show. Very excited, got a great show for you today. A lot of content to cover here with David Cohn and my brother as usual. Make sure, though, you hit that like button and you smash that subscribe button like Jalen Ramsey coming downhill to knock the ball out. I want to start with some breaking news we had today, and it's not Tom Brady. I'm going to get to that, which I was right, by the way, gentlemen. But we'll get to that later as usual. I want to start talking about Caleb Williams officially announcing that he's going to USC. Lincoln back with Lincoln Riley, his former coach at Oklahoma. But there's a bigger picture question here. And if you look at what USC's done through the portal, you can legitimately ask the question, are they a contender to make the playoff? Let me be very specific. To make the playoff. Not do anything once they get there. I do not believe by any stretch of the imagination that USC would be able to compete with the likes of Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State, even with the roster rebuild in a transfer portal era where you can flip a program quicker than they can flip a house on HGTV. But when you look at the Pac-12 and you look at this schedule and bringing in a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who's used to the terminology, used to how things flow, used to how, Lincoln Riley handles things at the quarterback position, which is huge in any transition. People talk about Jackson Dart going from USC to Ole Miss. That's great. That's a huge pickup. But there's still a terminology barrier there. There's still things, guys having to feel each other out on the practice field and how they operate, how they go about things, how they handle you when you're doing good, how they handle you when you're doing bad. It goes back to comfortability. But when you look at this USC team, and the defense is a huge question. A huge question. I'll be the first one to tell you that. And I know a lot of people were down on their offensive line, who, by the way, Pro Football Focus graded as one of the top offensive lines in the country. Now, do I always agree with PFF? No, I don't. But they're returning 3 interior linemen. They got Virginia tackle transfer Bobby Haskins. And we know Lincoln can work around that. He's smart enough. His offensive acumen is diverse enough. He's malleable enough as a play caller and play designer to be able to get past that barrier a little bit, even though I think they're going to be better than what you think. But you add Mario Williams, and remember me saying this. Great players want to play with great players. Caleb Williams going to USC is a big jumpstart for other guys out in the portal that say, well, if I'm going to transfer, I want to go to a place that has cachet. USC has that. I want to go to a place that if we have a successful season, we can make the playoff. You could say that about the Pac-12. There's an opening right now for somebody at the top. I don't think that's even arguable. And number 3, if I'm a wide receiver, a tight end, whatever, somebody that can get me the ball, somebody that can create, because it's not just about running the post if you're a receiver. It's not just about running the slant. It's when the play breaks down and there's a scramble drill. Can this guy keep the play alive, keep his eyes downfield, and let me hit the home run for 70? Caleb Williams can do all that. And I don't think USC is done in the portal. Even though you could argue they've won the portal. You look at Ole Miss, who I brought up earlier, but with their schedule, you go to Stanford. All right, I know they got Notre Dame at home. The schedule's not super tough. You go to Stanford, to Utah, not as worried about at Oregon State. But in the Pac-12, it is up for grabs right now. And with what Lincoln has done through the portal, if they get a little momentum early, and they're probably going to have to go undefeated to make the play. Because if you look at the Final Four the way it is, you can go ahead and pencil 2 SEC teams in there. You have to. We've seen this movie too many times. It's like Bill Murray from Groundhog's Day. We're probably going to see something very similar. So if you pencil 2 SEC teams in, you look in the Big Ten, Jim Harbaugh, a lot of questions right now. I would pencil Ohio State in with C.J. Stroud coming back, and their 13 flavors of pissed right now at Ohio State. What happened last year in Michigan in the Big Ten and so forth. So there's one opening that I am looking at for somebody outside of the SEC and the Big Ten. Cincinnati's losing Desmond Ridder. There's an opening. Will it be USC? They could, but that defense is a huge question mark. If I was a betting man, I would say no. But remember, Caleb Williams is a sophomore. In college football, you got to play 3 before you can leave. So if you're looking at this roster now, imagine it after a successful year, which to me is 9 wins and above. His first year with that defense being a big question mark would be a hell of a year. But I think USC could set up to make it very interesting. And if they do catch a few breaks, you may see them sneak in there, even though I wouldn't bet on it. We have a hell of a show for you. Like I said today, thank you guys for joining us. Cone, hit them with the lineup. It's like the Braves last year.
We have a jam-packed show today. Tom Brady officially retires. We're going to break that down. Give the man his due, you know. We're going to play a little punt or go.
Ooh.
Bring that back. I have some questions for you.
Like
some
Jordan.
of them you don't even know, okay? Big college basketball matchups today, including Alabama going to Auburn on the Plains, all right? And then we're going to play a little around the world there, all right? But first, let's wrap up this USC conversation. I mean, you say that USC is not done in the portal. They may not even be done in recruiting. DeAndre Moore Jr., the top wide receiver in the country, decommitted from Oklahoma. USC is in play. I'm hearing that Louisville is also in play, but, you know, we'll see. Do you think that USC with Lincoln Riley, clearly they had cultural problems there the past few years, right? Given that he can solve the offensive side of the football so quickly, are they going to be the favorite even over an Oregon team that Dan Lanning can come in and inherit what Mario Cristobal had?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of questions everywhere. I mean, you look at UCLA, there's questions there. Oregon, brand new regime coming in, even though that roster is in a good place. But it's up for grabs. Utah's the one I think you got to look at and go, you know, these guys, if I had to pick one, gun to my head, even though I know they lost some, I would pick Utah. That's the biggest hurdle to me. It's not Oregon. It's not, Oregon State. At Stanford is always a tricky game for USC, you know, but this isn't a math contest. It's a football game. But Stanford always seems to show up and play well against USC. So I do think it's wide open, but that at Utah game, because Utah to me could run the table next year.
Where do they have
Utah could be that team that comes in, but you talk about signing day coming up, which it's not really signing day. The new early signing period is signing day. This is kind of the leftovers where there are some big names. And how much momentum does USC garner by getting Caleb Williams now? You've seen the decommitment from the big-time wide receiver. I think you'll see a few more. But I do want to say this, and I've got a lot of love for Oklahoma. A lot of love. But you guys need to build a bridge and get over this. On social media, I threw out the question, do you think USC could be a contender to make the playoff? And you'd have thought that I tried to kidnap the governor of Oklahoma. That's how crazy they went. Here's what I'm saying. This man, Caleb Williams, is not Anakin Skywalker. Stop treating him like that. You think Dylan Gabriel wants to hear you guys bitch and complain about Caleb Williams leaving? You think Brent Venables wants to hear about that? They're trying to move forward. Jeff Levy, they're trying to move forward. Let them. Y'all have got to stop doing this. Grow up, Peter Pan. Count Chocula. Brent Venables is going to do a good job there, but the Caleb Williams things is over. It's like in a relationship, you're like a jilted lover.
And it's not like they didn't know this was going to happen.
I don't get it. What do you think, he was going to come back?
Yeah, the writing was on the wall when Dylan Gabriel committed.
And Dylan Gabriel's a great pickup. Jeff Levy as OC is a great pickup.
Y'all didn't lose.
All Oklahoma fans have a bad habit. All they do is whine.
They didn't lose in this situation. They have to look at it from 60,000 feet above. You didn't lose in this situation. You got Levy, who's an absolute stud calling plays. You got Dylan Gabriel, experienced, crafty lefty, you'd love to see. You got Venables sort of on the defense side. Your defense has not been playing that good, and the reason you lost big games.
Yeah.
So you almost fixed, you had an offense, and now you have a program.
Yeah, and you're moving forward in the right direction. That's my thing. And I love Oklahoma fans. They're passionate. BGB, Big Game Boomer, big fan of the show. I'm a big fan of his. But the Oklahoma, y'all have got to move on from this. Guess what? There's no love there anymore. The relationship is over. Let it be over. And all of a sudden, now you get Dylan Gabriel coming in, and I think he's going to do a hell of a job next year.
One interesting thing with Lincoln Riley is, you know, he took over for Bob Stoops. There were no cultural problems at Oklahoma when he took over. So he could come in and just be the schematic genius that he is. Will that be enough at Southern Cal? Maybe it will be. I mean, it's still a blue blood program.
Well, look, he's bringing sexy back like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that the Rams are going to the Super Bowl as well.
That's very true. That's very true. But in USC is a place, we've talked about this playing, we've talked about this. USC is a place you can flip real quick.
You can. Real quick.
I mean, they're a blue blood of college football. You have to say that. I know it hasn't been fantastic since the Pete Carroll era, but it shows you can do it. And I think they have a chance with Lincoln. And it just shows you the way Lincoln left Norman, you know, it wasn't pretty, was abrupt. But Caleb said, listen, I still believe in you, dog.
Yeah,
and I think you're going to see it pay dividends.
Well, when it came down to USC and Wisconsin, I think that it was a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, well, you go up there right now and you're outside and, you're like one of the polar bears from the Coca-Cola commercial. You go to USC out there. I mean, look, it's what did Kendrick say? The 3 W's, man. I mean, it's a good vibe. And with NIL,
USC needs a star.
Massive.
They need a star.
Still love for Wisconsin.
Still, for sure. Look, and again, you've seen Russell Wilson go there. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I know there was a connection there through the Williams family, but like you said, Blaine, Oklahoma didn't make bad out of this. Caleb Williams has still got a lot to improve on. He's not there by any stretch of the imagination, but he has the ability to be elite. Not a lot of guys have the ability to be elite.
And remember, people forget this. Caleb Williams wasn't even the starter.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the starter, okay? And he's a good player, but he made a lot of mistakes. Spencer Rattler, we know what he is, what he was. Now it's South Carolina. But he wasn't even the starter, so he has a lot to improve on. And I think that offensive line is going to help him out a lot, too, at USC.
Yeah, and again, speaking about Spencer Rattler going to what Shane Beamer's doing at South Carolina.
Yeah.
He's
big fan of the show.
Yeah, big fan of the show. We love Coach Beamer and mayonnaise.
So there was a bit of a fumble, with pun intended, with Tom Brady's retirement announcement, okay? But now it is official. Tom Brady has retired, okay?
Are we sure?
Let's don't
Hold on. Can you say? I want you to say.
Tom Brady has
look Blaine in the eyes.
told us.
I
want you to look Blaine in the eyes.
I don't believe it.
Blaine's question is: has he not lined up under center yet? Right?
I mean, I just don't want to believe it.
It's over.
I don't want to believe
Take the L.
Here's the question.
Open the box.
I won't.
Look at the L.
I won't disrespect the man by asking if he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
He is.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is he the greatest athlete in the modern sports era?
Okay. Tom Brady is the greatest overall football player of all time. Greatest quarterback.
There you go.
Now, when you're talking about the greatest athlete, I think we have to separate the sports because you have team sport. Not one man in the game of football, regardless if you run 4-2 or 24-4, can win the game for your team. But then you have individual sports like golf and Tiger Woods where it's all on you. It's not, I can do my job, but 10 other guys have to do their job, or the offensive line has to protect, or this, that, and the other. What Tiger Woods did was unbelievable. Jim Thorpe. You look at guys in the Olympics that compete by themselves. I mean, I wouldn't say Tom Brady is the greatest athlete of all time. If you look at team sport, if you say football player, quarterback, whatever, yes, hands down. Tom Brady's not going to the Beijing Olympics and winning the high jump.
Sure.
Okay? He's not going over there and winning the 100. But he did it in a different way. He's on the Mount Rushmore of greatest sports figures of all time. But if we're going to say athlete, to me, it's so hard not to put Tiger Woods there because it's an individual sport. You don't have somebody come and be like, all right, guys, I drove it. Who wants to come over here and hit the wedge in from 100? Or who wants to putt it? You have to do it all, and he was so dominant. You could even say, too, baseball to a certain extent, while it's a team sport, there's a lot of individual parts to it. Sure. The pitcher, but he's still got to throw to the catcher. You still got to have a guy to knock you in if you hit a double. So I think if we're looking at Tom Brady just as an athlete, I wouldn't say the greatest athlete ever. I would say one of the greatest sports figures in a team sports setting.
Yeah, and that's not bad for a guy who runs 5'1".
No.
Yeah. And has run 5'1" for a long while.
If I'd have told you that when he got drafted, 879th or whatever it was, that he'd end up being he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
And, we won't we could talk for a whole hour about his accomplishments. He's broken every record, there is. But a few that really stood out to me, more Super Bowls than any one franchise. Than any one single franchise. That's incredible, okay? 6 game-winning drives in the 7 Super Bowls. To me, that sort of cuts against the argument that, he just played for Bill Belichick for so long.
He won one without Bill Belichick.
So the fact that he won, he left Bill Belichick and won one other championship, and in those other ones, 6 game-winning drives in 7 is just absolutely incredible and shows that he wanted the ball in his hands late. And then his immediate peers, right, his greatest competition, Peyton, Eli, Big Ben, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Phillip Rivers combined together for 8 Super Bowls. Tommy had 7. And it's not just about the Super Bowls. It's not just about the records. It's about the way he carried himself, his will to win, the absolute consummate.
The way he took care of his body off the field to give him a chance to be able to play this.
He was doing that when people weren't really doing that.
Oh, I know.
Cryogenic chamber and all the utilizing the
sleeping
science.
Upside down like a bat.
You notice how the greats are always what? A step ahead.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, again, Tom is. I don't think we'll ever see it again. That's
one more. Never had a losing season.
Never had a losing
22 seasons.
22 seasons in the NFL.
And if I'm wrong, the Booster Club will let me know.
No, it is. And shout out to the Booster Club, the greatest grassroots movement since Scientology. But back to what we're saying. To me, you can never argue that Tom Brady was a system quarterback with Bill Belichick. You'd have an easier time convincing me that Bill Belichick was a system coach.
Gotcha.
Because, I mean, who's won one without the other one?
I know.
One of y'all left the other one and just absolutely glowed up.
And it's
kept
harder
the glow
to
up.
do it as
and
a
the other
player.
one absolutely blowed up.
It's harder to do it as a player. Because
hell yeah, it's harder to do it as a player.
Bill Belichick's basically the GM too. Total control over everything that's happening and could coach longer than Tom Brady was going to be able to play, and he's still the one who got the Super Bowl. Look, I think they're both the greatest at what they do, and that marriage together was something that I don't think we'll see again. And people say, well, Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, they could do things with the football Tom Brady can't do, which technically, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a
Aaron
freak.
can run.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they would have been as good of a fit with Bill Belichick. I mean, it really doesn't.
I said this yesterday. The proof's in the pudding, man. The proof's in the pudding. One of them did it. The other ones didn't. Not taking anything away from Peyton Manning or A-Rod, but one of them did it, and the other ones didn't. And again, Aaron Rodgers is a witch of the highest order, but he can add a running element, and we're going to get to Aaron. But let's move on. By the way, in the comment section, let us know, is Tom Brady the greatest athlete, or do you have to classify him as a sports figure? I'm interested to see what y'all say.
Well, let's stay on Aaron Rodgers. Let's do a little punt or go.
Ooh, I'm bringing it back.
Little punt or go, all right?
Back.
You know, if you agree with this, you're going for it. If you disagree, I want you to punt it away. Aaron Rodgers has played his final football game for Green Bay.
Oh, yeah, we're going.
You going for
We're
that?
going. He's done. I mean, you look at Devontae Adams. Hackett goes to the Broncos. We're going to dive into this a little bit later in the week, but I think he goes to the Broncos. I really do. I know Blaine disagrees with me there.
You disagree, jump in.
Yeah, Blaine.
No, I think he's going to the Bucs. And I think it has more to do with Devontae Adams, replacing that. Because, they've prepared the backup for Aaron Rodgers, who's not going to be even close.
No.
But they've somewhat prepared. How do you replace Devontae Adams? You trade him to the Bucs, and you get who? You get Mike Evans. You can also grab a DB. And what the Bucs are going to have to do to free up some cap space, Tom Brady's going to have to help him out a little bit. Reduce that signing bonus, reduce his contract.
Giselle makes more than him.
I know. But the thing about it is, you have to replace Devontae Adams. You have to replace him. And to do that, and, if you're Aaron Rodgers, I mean, why not the
you've already got
warm?
You've already got the.
They do we'll just get the great quarterback. We'll go for that year or two to try to win the Super Bowl. You're not playing into the long game on this. You want to win right now, and you sign Aaron Rodgers, you give away Mike Evans, and you free some cap space, and you can do it.
By the way, I'm taking Devontae Adams over Mike Evans every day.
100%.
I'm taking him every day of the week.
What about Titans, huh? They have everything they need. Aaron Rodgers.
I see what you're
would
doing.
Cement.
I
what
see
about
what
Titans?
you're doing.
Well, look, one of our boys, Austin, thinks Sam Fran could go to the
Well,
49ers.
again,
is there too much love lost there? I mean,
Yeah,
is he
that
too
grudge
bitter
is
for
real.
Mama calls. See, this is. I still think Broncos. But if I had to pick a second, the Niners, just because, listen, you have fights with mama sometimes.
Yeah.
Didn't make your bed. Maybe that girl's not really for you and she wants you to know it. But all of a sudden when the street lights come off, she says, come on home. What do? You come gallivanting on back home. And what did Aaron say after the draft, though? This is a great quote. If he does go back to the Niners,
They said,
we're going to play this and just run it on repeat.
Are you disappointed that the 49ers didn't draft you? He said, not as disappointed as the 49ers are going to be that they didn't pick you.
Gangster.
On draft night.
He's a gangster.
Now he is 0-4 against San Fran in the playoffs. 0-4.
But you can't lose to him if you play for him.
That is true. So we're going to dive into that. Look, we're going to have plenty of Aaron Rodgers talk in the next few weeks, but you're going on that one. He's done with Green Bay.
I'm going in.
Okay.
Quote Wheezy.
Let's go back here. Let's go back to college football here. Jackson Dart, the former USC quarterback, transferred to Ole Miss. So Lane Kiffin will have as much success with Jackson Dart as he did with Matt Corral. You punting that or going?
Look, punt alert. Not that Ole Miss isn't going to be really good. And what you mean by success, I think we're looking at numbers.
They had their first 10-win season, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Jackson is a really good player, and I hated seeing Matt go down in the bowl game. I was glad he played in it. But look, man, Matt, the Golden Corral, to me is still different. Man, you go back and turn on the tape. When he's healthy, the throws, he's better than Zach Wilson to me. Like, I don't even think it's that close. Yeah. The moxie that he has, playing in the best conference in college football. And I really thought him, Lane, and Lebby, because look, Lebby's a big part of this too. I really think people, that's why I was so hard on Oklahoma fans earlier about, building a bridge and getting over this, like you going to Terabithia, is that Lebby had a huge hand in the way that offense flowed and handling the quarterbacks, which took a lot of pressure off of Lane, this, that, and the other. But I think Ole Miss is going to have a ton of success, but I don't think he's going to be able to recreate what Matt Corral did. And again, look, Matt and them lost a lot of pieces outside going into last year. Sure. They lost a lot of pieces. I mean, we can go down the list. Now, they've added some. I think them getting Michael Trigg from USC, speaking of USC, who's a big-time athlete, guy's got a ton of upside. Lane has him and J.J. Pegues. I mean, you got two in.
They're calling Lane, there. Not the Tiger King, but the Portal King.
The Portal King. And he had a tweet. If you hadn't seen the tweet of him, they basically superimposed his face
it's perfect.
on Joe Exotic's.
It's perfect.
He just got sentenced to 21 more years.
Lane gets it.
He gets it. He gets it. And we're going to get into, if Lane were to leave Ole Miss at some point, but it's a little early for that. But Michigan could open up, even though that's kind of like old school, and it's kind of like peas and mashed potatoes or whatever I saw at that
maybe Jim will make a
soccer
decision.
Game.
Maybe Jim will make a decision.
Maybe he will. Well, you're flirting with it on signing day. I don't want to dive too far into that. But let's get to the next one. Okay. I'm punting the hell out of that, trying to pin him inside the 20.
Gotcha. All right. So to college basketball now. So maybe punter go becomes driver dish.
Ooh.
Or shooter block or dunker block. I don't know. Here we go.
You're like a young but also extremely tall Shakespeare.
Yesterday I'm Hagrid. Today I'm the Bard.
Combination.
You're Shagrid.
Today I'm the Bard. Yesterday
you're the first ever Shagrid.
Hey, all good. As long as I don't get left out. You know what I mean? It's something. Oscar Jboy will be the National Player of the Year. Punt or go.
I got to go on this. I got to go on this. And it's funny. There's games you see and you're watching Kentucky play and you're like, man, Jboy's good. Not overly dominant. Then you look at the box score and you're like, he had 20 and 17?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's so consistent. To me, when you're looking at the National Player of the Year, you have guys that go up and down, right? You have guys that'll drop 30 in a game, but then all of a sudden they'll disappear for a couple games. Jboy shows up every day. I said yesterday, you ought to be the CEO of Windex. By the way, that's an NIL deal. I want 20% of that. But what he does with consistency, playing at that level consistently, if you're John Calipari, if you're any coach in general, because we always talk about what in football, the trenches, right? Mm-hmm. Jboy dominates the trenches. He's the number one offensive rebounder in college basketball. He's the number one defensive rebounder in college basketball. So what does that mean? You are getting extra chance points and taking away extra chance points from the other team. There's not a bigger stat to me. I mean, maybe shooting percentage and turnovers in college basketball, but the fact that he is able to rebound at such a high level elevates your other players so much because, again, other guys crash the boards, but what I think separates him is his instincts getting rebounds, his positioning, being able to read shots. You don't get there by luck. This isn't something you just happen to be in the right place every time. It takes a lot of not just learned skill, but instinct, depth you are away from the basket, timing of when watching him go up, he'll go get the ball at its highest point. We talk about receivers all the time, and I love using analogies between sports. Like, he'd be a hell of a tight end. You talk about high point in the ball. Watch him go up and catch the ball at its highest point. Tell receivers, right, go get the ball at its highest point. You tell DBs that. He does an unbelievable job of that. What do you think? I mean, who else are you voting for right now?
No, yeah, I would agree. I'd agree. That matters most to their team, it's him. And you could really see it in that Kansas game.
And in the tournament.
And it helps you
so much in the tournament.
Yeah, it's like defense. He travels. It doesn't matter. The boards, they travel.
Defensive rebounding travels.
It travels. And it wins you games against maybe teams you're not better than. And you get in tournament,
and there's not a lot of teams that are better than Kentucky.
True, but you're going to find you can run late in the tournament with guys like this, and he's so important to this team. And the one time I kind of saw him struggle was against Auburn.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure he had like 18.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I mean.
He had like 17 and 14.
Walker Kessler outplayed him, but he still got his.
He's going to get
still got his, even though, I mean, if they're going to beat them in the tournament, he's going to have to do more. But his consistency throughout the year, I think, will be a major factor.
And his shooting's getting better.
His shooting is getting better. But you watch him, and I think it's the consistency of domination, the ability to consistently dominate, and it's on both ends of the floor. Mm-hmm. In football and other sports, you got guys that play offense, you got guys that play defense. Well, in basketball, it's a little bit different. You're playing both sides, and he's dominating both sides. It's like rushing the passer and dominating, and then blocking the guy that's rushing the passer and dominating. It's an unbelievable skill in watching him and his positioning. Every young big man, whether you're a 4 or you're a 5, needs to watch him and watch the way he operates, watch the way he reads the ball. And it makes the rest of your team better because you're creating more opportunities. And how much more confident are you to take a shot knowing that Oscar's down there? Because with him down there, there's really not a bad shot.
Yeah.
Because he can always get the board and kick it back out, which he does a good job of passing out of double teams. Something Dickinson at Michigan still has yet to figure out. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. I don't know how he hadn't figured it out yet. But what's the next one?
At Michigan, they could get the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, you would think.
Don't understand it. Either way, Baylor had another tight one last night. Okay, they were down at half. I think they scored 50 in the second half to come back and beat West Virginia, right?
Yep.
So right now,
6 in a row?
I think so. So right now, punt or go, Baylor will make the Final Four.
I'm punting it. And look, I know Cryer's out, Flagler's out. They've been beat up. This Baylor team has a ton of upside. But when I watch them, there are holes in this team that there weren't last year. And I know that comparing them, they were so dominant last year. You remember watching Baylor play? We talked about it yesterday. They were so dominant. They're just missing that edge a little bit. I don't see the same intimidation factor at the guard spot that I saw last year with what they're able to do. So I'm going to punt that. I don't think Baylor's a Final Four team. Now, look, when you have the roster that they have, because Kendall Brown, the freshman, once that kid figures out a jump shot, he is going to be a problem. I'm talking about geometry with proofs type problem because he's athletic as hell. But, you know, Sohan, young guy, big upside from Germany, but they just don't have the intimidation factor last year. And when I watch them on the screen, I don't feel them the way that I felt them last year. You could see it, how hard everything was against basically they bullied Gonzaga.
Yep.
Like Drew Timme and them, they went in the high school, pointed at him, shoved him in the locker, closed it, went to class and left. That's what they did. I don't see that team bullying people this year. And you don't have to be a big man to bully somebody. The guards, the way they were able to bully last year. So
that was another one you called, wasn't it? Baylor over Gonzaga last year?
Yep.
Yeah, you had Baylor winning. You had Baylor winning
When it
that.
comes national
And you
championship,
can go back to last year
fire.
and you can pull up every single Baylor game and you can't find a team that they didn't stay in front of.
No.
Defense. They're in front of everybody. And you watch them against Alabama, and what could they not do?
Look, they were down
Not
8.
stay in front of Alabama.
They were down 8 at halftime to West Virginia, you know, who's not exactly the 96 Bulls.
Yeah. West Virginia just lost to Arkansas, too.
Yeah, and Bob Huggins, man, that train, look, McNeil is absolutely applying the moisturizer from everywhere. But outside of that, don't believe in him. Don't believe him.
All right, here we go. And all right, so we're going to open up here into college basketball, but we're going to segue with our last punter go. The Tide will roll tonight on the Plains. Punter go. Dunk or dish or drive?
Dish or drive, lob or bob, punt. The jungle's nuts. You know, I know Alabama against Baylor, speaking of Baylor, played really well, but which Alabama team are you going to get? And you have to remember, Auburn went to Coleman and beat them. Okay, that was after they had beaten Gonzaga, and not right after, but you know, if you're going to use games before that. But remember, Walker Kessler got 2 fouls early. Walker Kessler was not a factor.
That's true.
In that game. I do not see it happening the same way tonight with Walker Kessler. Darius Miles, as you can see, as we saw today, is questionable. I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah.
Look, Jawan Gary's going to be that. If Alabama's going to have a chance, Jawan Gary has to show up the way that he showed up last game. But the jungle's rocking. It's a rivalry game. Auburn's #1 in the country, 8-0 in the SEC. You win this one, Bama goes to 4-5 in the SEC, and then hosts Kentucky on Saturday in another mega matchup, which shows you how crazy this 3-game stretch is that Alabama played. But I think Jabari Smith's going to do his thing tonight defensively. And again, and I want to make this point, but before we dive too far into it, I went back and looked at the numbers, and we talked about 3-point shooting with Alabama, but yesterday we said, it's their defense, right? That's what has separated them. Are they going to swarm like they swarmed against Baylor at home in this game? Not that they won't play hard, but play that disciplined on defense, because Auburn's guards are really good too, and KD Johnson is going to be turned up to the max. But Alabama has won games when they haven't shot the 3 well. Mm-hmm. They're one of the best 2-point shooting teams that there is. That's where Walker Kessler makes the difference, guys. That's where he makes the difference. Baylor had a lot of trouble getting in the way, making Alabama hit hard shots. Shackelford was able to get whatever he wanted and then got to the line. Walker Kessler kind of negates that. So what I'm looking at is if Bama's not hitting threes, because I think Auburn's going to shoot well at home. Typically, you shoot better at home. You're used to that basket. You're playing with that ball. If Bama shoots well from 3, they're going to have a chance. If not, I think it's a 6-point spread right now. I think Auburn covers. Now, that's not going to be one of my bets, but if they don't shoot well from 3, I think Walker Kessler affects too many 2s, and Alabama struggles.
So is Alabama in jeopardy at all of missing the tournament, or are the key wins they have?
They needed that win over Baylor.
They lose to Auburn and Kentucky this week, right? Are they in jeopardy?
Well, right now, I think Joe Lunardi had him at a 5 seed. Shout out Joe. Joey Brackett's good friend of the show. Had him as a 5 seed. And if you look at that resume, it's the wackiest resume you've ever seen.
Yep.
The high end is so high with the wins. Nobody has that collection of wins. But the lows are so low. I mean, their quad 3 record is nuts. So Alabama, to me, is going to get in the tournament. The biggest question is not Auburn and then Kentucky. Because if you look at the SEC standings, they have Purdue as a 1 seed, and they're 4th in the Big Ten.
Yep.
So we do have to kind of separate that a little bit, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm, just like in football, I feel like you should, have to dominate your conference to be a 1 seed. But it's what's going to happen after that. Blaine, pull up Alabama's basketball schedule for the rest of the time, because I want to look at this as we talk about it. And the games that worry you are like the at Floridas.
Yeah.
And who's a bubble team that's going to have to need it. Because if you go 4-6 and you start stacking losses, you may get in the tournament, but your seed may be horrible. Mm-hmm. And Alabama has not shown the consistency to be able to beat multiple good teams in a row. Not sporadically, but in a row.
It's a tough stretch right here. All right, so you got Auburn coming up at Auburn. Then you got Kentucky at home. All right, then you have at Ole Miss. Then you have Arkansas at home, Mississippi State at home, at Kentucky, at Vanderbilt versus South Carolina at home, A&M at home, and at the University of LSU.
There's some grenades in there, man. And this is a team that lost at Missouri and at Georgia. So don't give me it's Ole Miss. Hell, Ole Miss will take Georgia outside and beat them with a belt.
These next 6 games, guys, this stretch is maybe the toughest one. Auburn, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and if Ole Miss is hot, they're at home. If Ole Miss is hot, they can play. But then you got an Arkansas team who's figuring it out, and a Mississippi State team
that's got a lot of pieces.
Got a lot of potential. Then you go to Kentucky.
They got a lot of pieces.
I mean,
God, SEC is
that's
deep,
where I'm at on that.
All right, we got Kansas, Iowa State tonight. Your thoughts?
Kansas, Iowa State tonight. Before we get there, though, we talk about on this show, right, big-time players make big-time plays. And Iowa ended up losing this game.
Yes.
But when I watch Keegan Murray play, he's going to be an All-American. He was not having a good shooting night last night. He ended up a little bit in overtime, and this is a game that Iowa had to have. They ended up not winning it. But I just want to show the audience, when we talk about guys, even when it's not going good, making plays to keep your team in the game. Iowa's down 2 at Penn State. Time's running out, and I'm going to play the clip. This is what big-time guys do. This is what they do. Let's roll this clip. This is a hell of a play.
No timeouts. Hawkeyes have to go. Bohannon into the front court. Spins. Has to get it up. Heave for the win. It's tapped in. It's tapped in.
How many times have you ever seen that play? How many times have you ever seen that play?
I can't remember time, but why doesn't he have the ball?
What a pass by Bohannon.
Yeah, for sure. But those type of plays, and I hate it for the guy because they didn't give him the ball enough.
Yeah. No, especially in big.
If you're Iowa's coaching staff, a lot of that's on you.
True.
A lot of that's on you. To win the game, one time Euless drove the ball down to the left side, then kicked it not to Keegan Murray, but his brother Chris. You passed it to the wrong one. Come on, guys. You don't have to be a genius to figure out to give Keegan Murray the ball. But that play right there to me says all I ever need to know about Keegan Murray. Even when it's not going good, to the last second, to the last tenth of the last second, that guy fought and made a play to give his team a chance. They weren't able to pull it out, but I wanted to give a shout out to Keegan
And
Murray.
you had a money line, right?
I don't want to talk about that. Why you gotta bring that up?
No, man.
Why you gotta bring that up?
I mean, I just thought after that, there's no way they lose this game.
Welcome to the team.
Well, they missed six shots in a row.
Yeah, then they didn't give him the ball. They let
McCaffrey
McCaffrey shoot 4 shots in the row.
Coach's son.
Yeah, you might as well just let me go out there and shoot it 4 times.
You'd have made more than he did.
Give Keegan Murray the ball. Sometimes coaches overthink, and there's no way. The first possession where you didn't pass him the ball, here you go, you're coming out.
Yeah.
I'm calling a timeout. All right, guys, let's get together. Here we go. Everybody come in. We're about to play a game called Give Keegan the Ball or you're gone.
Yeah.
That's what we're about to play. So,
good
I wanted to run that clip because I thought that showed a lot about him.
Look, Kansas really got drummed by Kentucky. They're going to bounce back against Iowa State or what?
Iowa State, who beat Missouri up pretty bad. Kansas, this is one they're coming off of it. I believe it's at Iowa State. Is this game at Iowa State? Iowa State, to me, and it's been a hell of a turnaround. They won 2 games a year before. I mean, ranked now, putting themselves in position to do things. I like Kansas in this game. I think Abaji's going to show up, after, Kentucky, I thought, did a really good job of kind of isolating him. But look, Dave McCormick for Kansas. At some point,
where are you?
You got to show up. Where are you? It's like a Blink-182 song at Kansas right now. Where is this guy? Like he got disappeared in the portal at Fansville.
And Lightfoot can't defend anymore.
Look, Lightfoot's played at Kansas since Fog Allen coached there. That dude's been at Kansas for so long. It's too heavy for Lightfoot to wear the crown. See what I did there? But no, Dave McCormick's got to show up. He's got to be more consistent. And look, losing Marcus Garrett, who was one of the best guard defenders I've ever seen. I think kind of we talk about Herb Jones in Alabama, right? Losing him.
Yeah.
Losing Garrett, I think has shown a little bit more for Kansas. Kansas a little bit fraudulent to me.
Ooh.
Abaji's got to either do it or they're not going to do it. McCormick's has shown you he will not show up in big
It's not like they just lost that game versus Kentucky.
They got drilled.
What's the adjective?
It was, hey, I'm gonna meet you in the alley, and it was a one-hitter quitter.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you want to fight me? You want to fight me? Okay.
And they're lucky they only lost by 18. It could have been worse.
And they never made a run. You kept waiting on Kansas to make a run. But every time they'd hit a shot, Kentucky was like, hey, guess what? It's going in. But no, look, I think this game's going to come down to the wire. But I do like Kansas. I think Abaji's going to do different.
You're on record for saying that you think Texas Tech is the best basketball team in the Big 12. No?
Yep.
Okay. Texas Tech hosts Texas tonight. What do you think?
I think they beat them by 10 or more.
Ooh, I love to hear you say that.
I think they beat them by
4.5.
I think they beat them by 10. Look, Chris Beard spurns Texas Tech, coming to go to Texas, comes back. You should have seen the way that they welcomed the bus. They were showing him number 1, but it wasn't this finger. They have been camping out since Saturday. That place is going to be nuts. I think Texas Tech runs them. I think they really do run them.
Yeah.
And look, I think Texas is a good team. I don't think they're a great team. But how cool of a dynamic is it that Rick Barnes, who was fired from Texas, goes to Tennessee, takes the Tennessee team to Texas to see Chris Beard. Then Chris Beard goes and plays the team that he didn't get fired from. He left. He was like, I'm going to take the side chick. And he left. And now he's taken that Texas team back. And look, Mark Adams was such a great hire for Texas Tech.
Yes.
And we talked about Ohio State's pissed. There are 13 flavors of pissed. Texas Tech is 14 flavors of pissed. And they would want nothing more than to go out and embarrass Texas. Watch O'Bannon tonight. I bet he goes off.
There's bad blood in this.
Yeah. There's bad blood. It's pure hatred.
Yeah.
That there's no, we're so happy to see you again. It's, hey, we cut your brakes before y'all got here. So it's
Did they still get there?
That's not water.
I don't know. They're still going.
Still get there?
I don't know. Hopefully they do.
It's a
Well, they
downhill
showed
ride.
up.
They'll be all right.
Believe me, they showed up. You look at the video of the Texas Tech fans, probably don't watch it around small children because there's a lot of adult words in it. But it shows you just how much love there is between Chris Beard and Texas and that Texas Tech.
I love college basketball hate.
By larger than the experts think.
Larger than the experts think. All right, tell me this. Tennessee hosts Texas A&M. How relevant is this game for SEC postseason implications?
Well, I saw Tennessee on the 4 line today. I still can't believe that. I saw them on the 4 line. A&M, like Michael Jordan's jump shot, they've been fading a little bit. That roster, we talked about gravity yesterday. That you can only punch above your weight for so long. I love what Buzz Williams is doing, though. I really do love what Buzz is doing there. Tennessee, to me, defensively, I think A&M, it's going to be hard for them to score. I think Kennedy Chandler's going to have a good game. But relevancy-wise, you got to look at the SEC standings right now in college basketball. There's an absolute log jam in the middle. You've got Auburn at 8-0. Correct me if I'm wrong, Blaine. You've got Auburn at 8-0. You've got Kentucky at 6-2. And then I think we got 2 5-3 teams.
I'm getting there.
I think we have 2 5-3 teams. Everybody else, I mean, it's like Black Friday in front of the front doors at a Best Buy, man. Like you can't budge right now. And then you have the bottom. You have Georgia, Missouri. Missouri, I think is 2-5, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So we got Auburn, Kentucky, Arkansas. Tennessee.
What's Arkansas? What 5-3?
Arkansas's 5-3.
Who's below Arkansas?
Tennessee 5-3. Okay. Then you got Mississippi State, LSU, A&M, Bama.
All at what?
All at 4-4.
All at 4
Mississippi
and 4.
State's 4-3.
So if you're right now, if you're a Tennessee team, A&M's what, 4 and 4?
Yes,
Correct,
as
yeah.
is South Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's one game that separates these really part of the top tier. Because Auburn at 8-0, you got to take that. You got to take that out. Kentucky at 6-2 is a game above the 2 5-3 teams, right? You don't have to be Nostradamus to figure that out. Then you have all those teams at 4 and 4. So you talk about protecting home court's important. Every game's important, but protecting home court, you get to 5 and 4 tied with Tennessee and have that tiebreaker right there.
Huge.
That's massive.
It's huge.
But if you're Tennessee and you're looking and you're saying, okay, well, Kentucky, who they host Vanderbilt, they're going to beat them into submission on Wednesday. But they go to Alabama on Saturday. If I'm Tennessee, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, gentlemen, we win this one. We're 6-3. Kentucky goes to Bama on Saturday and takes an L. We're tied. So when you're looking at positioning and seeding, all that stuff's great. But the SEC standings right now, there is such a small degree of separation in the middle. Every game is massive, but definitely you have to protect home court.
Yeah.
You have to protect home court.
Do we dare move on to picks? I think we each have a couple.
All right, yeah, we're going to drop some picks. I'm going to go last. Blaine, you go first.
All right, you kind of mentioned it earlier, and I like this game. All right, I like this game. Texas,
Do you like it, though?
You know what? I don't like it. I love it. All right.
love it. You're in
Texas
love with
Tech versus Texas. Texas Tech minus 4.5, and I'm taking it. All right, Texas is 16-0, holding teams under 60 points.
Say it again. Texas is 16-0.
16-0, holding teams under 60 points.
Okay.
All right, and they're 0-5 against teams when they score more than 60 points
I see
against
what
them.
you're
Okay.
There's one team who's almost better than Texas at defense. You know who that team is?
Texas
That is
Tech.
Texas
And you
Tech.
want to know why? Because Texas Tech's head coach, Mark Adams, was the architect of Chris Beard's defense at Texas Tech that was done.
Right there it is. So I'm taking
for you.
Texas Tech minus 4.5, and I'm also taking Alabama plus 6.5.
It was at 6.5 this morning when you said this.
Okay.
When we had our meeting, so I'll back him up on this. It's at 6 now.
Okay,
Would you
I'll take it at 6.5.
6?
I'm taking it at 6. I feel like Bama right now is starting to play their best basketball, and I know it's on the road. I do think Auburn wins this game.
That was my next
But
one.
I do think this will come down to the wire, and I feel like Jabari Smith hits a big shot late to take it over the top.
I think he did
Auburn
last
wins the
time as
game.
well.
Yes.
He
Okay.
did
But I do
last
like Bama to cover.
Okay.
Interesting. I want to take Michigan State minus 3.5 at Maryland. Maybe it's just because I had to witness what Michigan State did to Michigan this weekend. I want that one. And then I want to get in on the Bama love as well. Look, Auburn is superior to Alabama on paper, on the court, in the standings. And for that reason, I'm going to take Alabama money line.
You're taking Bama
If
straight up.
Alabama
I
were
bet.
playing Northern Alabama, I'd take Northern. Okay, if they're playing UAB, I'd take UAB. But since they're playing a team that's better than them,
You think
those
they're
are the
gonna show
only
up and
ones
play
they
better?
seem to be able to beat. I want Alabama money line at Auburn.
Look,
How you like that
I
strategy?
love
Yeah,
it.
look,
I love
number
it.
one,
I mean, I take them against the
think
Celtics at this point.
Auburn's due.
take him against Heaven's Army
Auburn's
if they
due for
play.
a loss.
They only beat teams better than them.
Yeah, so I like the Michigan State pick. You said it was 3.5?
3.5.
3.5.
When I got it, I don't.
All right, here's the two that I've got. And I feel as good about these as I've felt about any picks. Auburn, Alabama, over-unders 156.5. I think this is going to be more of a defensive game. I think a lot of people are looking at it as an offensive game, up-tempo, which I'm not saying it won't be up-tempo. I think it'll be more of a defensive game than what people are thinking. So give me the under 156.5. I'm thinking, a 74-68 type game, maybe a 75-70 type game. Because, 156, that's a lot.
That's a lot of points.
I love
80
this
and
pick.
80 is 160.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's going to be that high. Then my second game, Louisville does not have Malik Williams tonight. I think they shot their wad against Duke, came up a little bit short, even though I don't think Duke is as dominant as what they've normally been. It started at 3 this morning when I got it, but if you're listening to the show right now, you can't get it at 3. It's at 3.5. I will take North Carolina minus 3.5. I think Armando Bacot has a huge game down low. Louisville, again, kind of in a little bit of disarray. They're going to be looking to hire a brand new guy. So give me North Carolina minus 3.5. At Louisville. Give me the Auburn, Alabama under.
Love it.
I love the under pick. All right, around the world quickly.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Cincinnati public schools have announced they will take the day after the Super Bowl off to celebrate Cincinnati's first Super Bowl win.
Or mourn.
Yeah, well, look, it could go either way, but they said to celebrate one way or another. You think they're going to do they're ready. You think they're doing that to go into the Super Bowl and
Joey franchise?
Joey franchise.
Joey ball game?
Joey franchise?
Cincinnati Public Schools will
What do
take
y'all like
the
better,
day
Joey
off.
ball game or Joey franchise?
Let us know. Anyway, I think that's awesome.
I like that.
Speaking of Joey franchise, we hit this earlier. Joey could be the two things. He could be the only quarterback.
This is nuts.
To win the Heisman, the national championship, and the Super Bowl ever.
That's crazy.
Ever. I'm not done.
What else you got to win?
I'm not done.
This,
and listen
Mr. America?
And listen to
He's
this.
Captain America.
He's in a group. If they're to win the Super Bowl, he's in a group with quarterbacks in their second year in the league to win the Super Bowl.
Who?
Tom Brady.
Nice.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Nice.
And Russell Wilson.
I mean, come on, what a better group to be in.
I've heard of them.
What a better group to be in.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty daggum good. My around the world, I kept in the SEC yesterday. I'm going to keep in the SEC today.
I love it.
Brian Kelly's been catching a lot of heat.
I love it.
For these videos of him, like
being himself.
Dancing, is it a little bit cringy to watch? From an outside perspective, yeah. But guess what? The recruits are loving it. It's working. What's the one thing that matters? Winning, right? How do you win? Starts and ends with recruiting. Now, we talk about the 3 pillars, right? Recruiting, development, and culture. It starts with recruiting. You're not going to have development and culture if the players aren't any good or aren't competitive. The high school kids are loving what Brian Kelly is putting out. He's embracing who he wants to be down there. But if it works, who cares if he's not Justin Timberlake on the dance floor? You watch Nick Saban's, not going to win any dancing awards. You're not going to see him on Dancing with the Stars, but let Brian Kelly have fun. The kids are loving it. And you know what? That fits LSU.
Yep.
That's LSU to me. LSU's not an uptight, this, that, and the other. So if Brian Kelly wants to be a little MGK.
Went from the Pope to Malibu's Most Wanted.
He went from the Pope to Malibu's Most Wanted, but guess what? It's working.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. All LSU fans, it's a great blend of accountability and understanding what's going on, but also having fun. I think he has found a really good balance, and I think it's going to work. It's already paying dividends. And guess what? We keep talking about who? Who do we keep talking about? LSU. Brian Kelly. These kids hear that. It's relevant. He looks like he's having fun. And kids, while and 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds and that are seeing this, they look like they're having a blast.
Yeah. And kids know when you're faking.
They know when you're faking.
They know when you're lying.
If anybody can tell somebody's faking, it's an 18-year-old kid.
That is facts.
We went to high school.
That is fact.
You see it all day. It's like watching Mean Girls, man. Fetch isn't a thing. Let the man do his thing. Let the man do his thing. But another great show, guys. Shout out to the Booster Club. We're going to be communicating with y'all a little bit. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're having a hell of a time here in Area 52, the undisclosed, now disclosed location. Make sure you follow social media at The Jboy Show. Follow Blaine and Cone as well. They do a great job on Twitter and social media in general. Until next time, and Brian Kelly's chances of winning for Dancing with the Stars, we're going. Gone.